Great.
So tracking your food and writing things down, counting calories versus an approach where you don't do that and you just kind of free flow and use your intuition and your hunger cues, fullness cues. I've tried it all. I've tried it all. And it's going to be different, like the approach that works for you. And the key is that it works for you. It works for you. So it has to get you the result that you want. That's what we mean by working for you. So if you're getting the result you want based on one of those approaches, then that's what works for you and that's what you should do. I don't think one is superior to the other in general, given the needs of the general population of people trying to find what works. I think both are valid. And Mimi and I take separate approaches. You know, Mimi's my business partner here, and we both take the same, like we do our method. And our method includes playing around with what works for you. Personally, I must track things. It could be because I have ADD. Mimi does not. So I've been diagnosed with ADD. Mimi has not been diagnosed. So I don't know if that's the difference. You know, if you have any kind of neurodivergence and neurodiversity, then you may need to track because that's how you understand what's happening in your world. It's difficult when you have ADD and maybe other, neurodiverse conditions to be as aware as somebody who doesn't have that, because of the distraction factor and the hyper focus. I can get very hyper focused into work projects and or fun or whatever. I can just get very hyper focused, which means I'm actually very productive. I'm getting, a shit ton done. And so I'm very effective and efficient in my world. And it means to do that, I'm not paying attention to other incoming stimulation, including hunger cues, fullness cues, other things that might help me do the approach where you just kind of wing it and are guided by your inner signals. Now, there are inner signals that I do pay attention to. And for some reason, I can pay attention to those, but not others. And that's just the way I'm wired. And so the trick is to know thyself, to figure out how you are wired. And the way you figure that out is to try the different approaches and see where you actually get results. So if you can pay attention to hunger cues, fullness cues, and you can just kind of move through the day that way without tracking your food, and you are getting the result, i.e., weight maintenance, whatever your goal is. A lot of people here want to lose weight or stay on a track with weight loss. So if you're losing weight or at least maintaining using whatever approach you've chosen, let's say it's the more intuitive, um, paying attention to cues, your body cues, you go. I mean, that is completely valid. And Mimi uses that. And I wish I could use that. I've tried it. And it's useful to try it because you do get more in touch with those things. You get more in touch with your hunger cues and fullness cues. So I think it's good to practice both. If you're going to go more in my direction and track things, I think it's still good to get in touch with your body. You don't want to not do that. But for me, to live my life and get what I get done, and to deal with kind of the stress of being a caretaker for multiple people, I need assistance. I need support and tools that help me track and keep track and just monitor myself because I hyper focus, I get distracted, I can't think of all the things at once, I can't notice all the things at once. So for me, what works better is to track. And that's where I see the results. That's how I know it works. So I don't think based on theory that it works better. It's not because of some book I read. It's in practice. When I practice one versus the other approach, the thing that gets me the result I want is through tracking. And so for you, um, you've got to try both. And there may be some happy medium in between those two things where you track just enough to keep yourself clear on what you're doing and to remind yourself of things and maybe to see trends. And then maybe you also work on your hunger cues and your fullness cues. I would say I do a little bit of both to to be honest. I work really hard on connecting to my body, listening to my body. So I would say that I use some of that. I try to anticipate um, being kind of 70% full because if I eat until I'm feeling full, I actually am going to feel really sick. And so I have to pay attention to 70% full in addition to kind of noticing the actual, I measure and keep track of portion size too to help me out because I do get distracted. I might get distracted while I'm eating and then go over that 70% full, and then I'm paying for it by being really uncomfortable, which I do all the time. And so it's good for me to have things like smaller dishes, smaller plates, smaller, I even have these teeny little spoons. People who come to visit me and stay and kind of adopt my lifestyle while they're here, they eat with these little tiny spoons and they think they're fun and cute, so they'll do it. But they're good tools. They are good tools. So I think there's no right and wrong here. The only right is picking the approach that works for you. So I think, and it doesn't have to be either or, it can be a hybrid, but you only know that that's going to work for you because you try it out and you play with it a little and you're honest about what works and what doesn't work. Um, I think to learn the connecting to your body fullness cues and hunger cues. It takes a little time to acclimate to doing that. So you want to give it a fair shot. And like I said, I still use that approach. I just can't lean on it exclusively because it just won't work for me. What works is still paying attention to those things, but having something that I can really understand as factual and gathering actual data because otherwise my brain will not retain. It won't understand where I am in the day, how much food I've had. I'll lose track very easily and you know, then I see results I don't want. So there's no right or wrong. Like I said, our approach allows you to play with it and to figure it out for yourself. And really, long-term weight loss and maintenance is going to be about you exploring what works for you. And the definition of works is you're getting the actual result long term when you use that approach. So I hope that helps.